Far out in the endless blue waters of the South Atlantic Ocean, there exists a place so far removed from the rest of humanity that it has been called the most isolated settlement on Earth. This lonely dot of land is Tristan da Cunha, a tiny volcanic peak that rises from the depths of the ocean floor. It is a place surrounded by thousands of kilometers of water on every side, a place where human life clings to a fragile patch of coastal plain. On this narrow stretch of land lies the island's only village, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. With fewer than 250 residents, it is not just small, it is almost a world apart. Life here unfolds at the edge of the map, far beyond the noise and rush of modern civilization. The question often whispered when outsiders hear about this place is not of curiosity alone, but of wonder. Why do people live here? What keeps them tied to such a remote, windswept island? To understand Tristan da Cunha, you must first grasp the very thing that defines it more than anything else: the tyranny of distance. Tristan da Cunha is not simply remote. It is utterly isolated. The nearest inhabited land is the island of St. Helena, itself no bustling metropolis, but a lonely British territory adrift in the Atlantic. St. Helena lies 2,430 kilometers to the north. To the east, the coast of South Africa stretches more than 2,800 kilometers away. To the west, the shores of South America lie over 3,300 kilometers in the distance. These numbers are not just measurements of geography. They are walls of water. They are the invisible fortress that holds Tristan apart from the rest of the planet. The island has no airport. No runway cut into its rock. No flat land where planes can land. The skies above offer no bridge to the world beyond. The only connection is by sea, a thin thread of lifeline across the restless Atlantic. From Cape Town, a fishing vessel makes the journey 8 or 9 times a year. When conditions allow, the voyage lasts about a week. Sometimes longer. It is no casual ferry ride, no gentle cruise ship tour. It is a voyage of patience and endurance, crossing waters that have swallowed many dreams before. This is the price of living here. The sea itself decides when you may leave or when supplies may reach you. And the people of Tristan have learned to live under the rule of that distant horizon. A mountain rising from the sea. Tristan da Cunha is not simply an island. It is the exposed tip of a massive shield volcano, one of the loneliest mountains in the world. At its center rises Queen Mary's Peak, soaring 2,062 meters above sea level. Often capped with snow, its slopes sweep down into the sea, commanding the weather and the lives of those below. Clouds cling to its summit. Fierce winds funnel down its ridges. Encircling the island are walls of cliffs, sheer and unyielding, some plunging more than 600 meters straight into the ocean. These cliffs are nature's fortress, battered endlessly by the Atlantic. For almost the entire perimeter of Tristan, landing is impossible. Only on the northwestern coast does the rock relent, offering a narrow plain where soil lies flat enough for life to take hold. It is here, and nowhere else, that humanity has found its foothold. Here stands Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, the village that defies the ocean's dominion. The restless weather. Tristan lies in the path of the roaring 40s, powerful westerly winds that circle the globe at these latitudes. For the island, these winds are no distant current. They are constant companions, dragging with them storm systems that slam into the volcanic slopes. The climate is technically temperate, but in truth it is unpredictable, restless, and untamed. Sunshine arrives in flashes, only to vanish behind sudden squalls. Rain lashes the village without warning. Fog drifts in, then disperses. Islanders joke that the weather changes more often than the time of day. Every aspect of life bows to these shifting skies. When potatoes may be planted, whether boats can be launched, even whether ships can dock at the island, all are dictated by the whims of the weather. For the Tristanians, patience is not a virtue. It is survival. The ocean, both barrier and lifeblood. The ocean may lock Tristan in isolation, but it also provides its greatest treasures. The surrounding waters are cold, clean, and full of nutrients. This environment supports a vibrant marine ecosystem, home to seabirds, seals, and fish. Yet most valuable of all is the Tristan rock lobster. This lobster, carefully fished and processed in the island's modern factory, is shipped across the world to fine restaurants. It is the cornerstone of the island's economy, the single source of income that allows Tristan to import fuel, goods, and supplies. Without it, survival here would be nearly impossible. But Tristan is more than its main island. The archipelago includes 3 neighbors: Inaccessible Island, Nightingale Island, and Gough Island. Inaccessible Island is true to its name. Encircled by cliffs, it has repelled almost every attempt to land. Shipwrecks stand as tragic reminders of its dangers. Yet within those cliffs lies a sanctuary untouched, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that protects unique life, including the world's smallest flightless bird, the Inaccessible Island rail. Nightingale Island is smaller, but it beats with cultural meaning. Islanders still row their longboats here on seasonal trips, gathering eggs and continuing traditions of survival. It is also a haven for birds, where millions nest, shearwaters, penguins, and more. Gough Island, farther away, is another UNESCO treasure. While inhospitable, it hosts a small team of scientists maintaining an Antarctic weather station, linking Tristan to global research. Together, these islands form a chain of solitude, each carrying its own secrets, each bound to the fate of Tristan da Cunha. The arrival of humanity. For centuries after its discovery, Tristan remained only a mark on maps. Portuguese Admiral Tristão da Cunha sighted it in 1506, naming it after himself, but he never landed. For generations it was visited only by passing whalers and explorers, who recorded its cliffs but rarely set foot ashore. In 1810, an American named Jonathan Lambert arrived with companions, declaring himself ruler of what he grandly called the Islands of Refreshment. His reign lasted barely 2 years. He drowned in a fishing accident, leaving the island silent again. The real story of settlement came a few years later. In 1816, with Napoleon exiled to St. Helena, the British feared that the French might use Tristan as a base for a daring rescue. To prevent this, they annexed the island and stationed a garrison. But the danger never came, and within a year the soldiers were ordered to withdraw. Among them was a Scottish corporal named William Glass. Unlike the others, he requested permission to stay, along with his wife and children. With 2 other men, they became the foundation of a permanent community. Building a life. In the decades that followed, the settlement slowly grew. Shipwrecked sailors, wandering whalers, and drifters from Europe and America found themselves stranded on Tristan. Many chose to stay, binding their stories to the island's fate. But the population faced a problem: there were too few women. To solve this, the men asked passing captains to bring wives from St. Helena. Out of these unions grew the core families of Tristan, whose surnames, Glass, Green, Hagen, Lavarello, Repetto, Rogers, and Swain, still dominate the island today. What emerged was a society of equality and cooperation. Resources were shared. Work was communal. In a place where survival depended on unity, community became stronger than law. Trial by fire. But living on a volcano means living under its shadow. In 1961, Tristan da Cunha shook with fury. The dormant volcano erupted, spewing ash and molten rock alarmingly close to the village. Potato fields were destroyed as a new volcanic cone rose from the earth. The entire population, 264 people, was forced to flee. First to a nearby island, then across the ocean to England. For the first time, Tristanians lived in the modern world of the 1960s. They walked streets of traffic, watched television, and used money. It was a world unimaginably different from the simple life they had known. Many outsiders assumed the evacuation would be permanent. Surely, they thought, the islanders would choose modern comforts over returning to hardship on a lonely rock. But when given the choice, the Tristanians voted overwhelmingly to go back. In 1963, they sailed home, rebuilding their village with determination. Their return was not just a homecoming, it was a declaration. Tristan da Cunha was not a prison. It was their home. Edinburgh of the Seven Seas today. Today, life in Edinburgh of the Seven Seas carries on much as it has for generations. There is a school that educates all the island's children. A small hospital staffed by a doctor. A post office that connects Tristan with the outside world. A single shop supplies essentials. And for gathering, laughter, and community, there is the Albatross Bar. The economy is supported by lobster fishing, but self-sufficiency remains essential. Every family tends their potato patch. They raise cattle and sheep. They fish, knit, repair, and build. Each person wears many hats: factory worker, farmer, carpenter, because here, everyone must. Life is modest, but it is safe. There is no crime. Doors remain unlocked. Keys stay in car ignitions. Children roam freely, watched over by neighbors who are also relatives. In a world where loneliness often thrives in crowded cities, Tristan offers the opposite: community as a way of life. The closed door. Yet this fragile balance is carefully guarded. Tristan is not seeking newcomers. There is no immigration program, no open path for outsiders. Even British citizens cannot simply move here. Residency is reserved for those born on the island. Only essential workers, teachers, doctors, specialists, are occasionally brought in, and then only on short contracts. Even marriage to a Tristanian does not guarantee acceptance. The island council decides who may stay. This is not hostility. It is survival. With limited land, fragile resources, and a delicate social structure, even a few new arrivals could upset the balance. By closing the door, the Tristanians preserve their way of life. The uncertain future. But time itself is a challenge. The population has slowly declined, from nearly 300 in 2016 to fewer than 250 today. The community is aging. Young people sometimes leave to study abroad, and not all return. The island faces the question of whether its way of life can endure another century. Yet in many ways, Tristan is not isolated at all. Its people are bound together by a closeness that few outside could imagine. Where the rest of the world grows more connected yet more divided, Tristan stands as proof that isolation can nurture unity. On a map, Tristan da Cunha is a dot in the endless sea. But in reality, it is something more, a living reminder that humanity can thrive in the harshest solitude. Here, on the edge of the world, people have built not just homes, but a community. They have faced volcanoes, storms, and distance, and still they remain. For them, isolation is not exile. It is freedom.